Hi everybody, this is Andrew Bloom. I'm the Vice President here at Fast Business Capital, and I want to thank you for taking the time to learn more about our inventory line of credit product. This is a product we're really excited about, and we're already noticing a very positive effect that it's having for our borrowers in terms of higher revenues, profits, and increased cash flow. Okay, let's go over some of the benefits to the small business. Often small businesses don't have the opportunity to purchase inventory in bulk and improve their gross margins. By giving the business a way to scale up their inventory purchases, they can really enjoy volume discounts by locking in a discount as little as 3%. The business benefits from an immediate improvement to the bottom line. Now, one of the greatest challenges facing any small business is cash flow. One of the reasons cash flow presents a challenge is that the company has to continuously pour cash into purchasing more inventory, materials, and supplies. This is in addition to all the recurring operating expenses of the company. By giving the borrower an affordable mechanism to finance these purchases, a significant amount of cash can be freed up for other areas of the business. Once this cash is freed up, the company can now invest in initiatives to bring in new business, such as running advertising promotions and hiring salespeople. We also recognize that there's lead time in procuring, receiving, and positioning the inventory for sale, and that's why we offer small, initial interest-only payments while the inventory is being prepped for sale. Now let's turn to some of the industries that really thrive with our inventory-based line of credit. The common thread among these industries is that they often have to prepay upon shipment or pay upon delivery for the inventory, materials, and supply. And this is before they have the opportunity to convert those purchases into sales. In other words, they lack sufficient trade credit that larger, more established businesses have. In fact, more established businesses often take for granted the fact that they can attain inventory and begin to sell and convert it into cash before they have to pay the vendor. Retailers, especially the smaller ones, are often put in a situation where their working capital is locked up in inventory. E-commerce businesses face similar hurdles because they're running a continuous cycle of taking cash from their sales and immediately buying more inventory. By financing their inventory purchases, we can help them free up a ton of working capital so they can market the business more effectively and bring in more new customers. Importers, they also have a challenge with inventory. One of the reasons they import is to lock in the best price on a good that they want to be able to sell at a low cost here in the States. The trade-off, of course, is they have to prepay for all their inventory and then wait for their inventory to arrive here in the States before they can sell it. If it arrives here by boat, or there's a long lead time, that can take weeks or months before they're able to sell their products. But once they're able to finance these purchases with a credit line, they can keep a lot more cash on hand for other uses. You know, one customer of ours sells a very specialized form of grilling charcoal through Amazon and her own online store. He imports from a special manufacturer overseas, and it's a very popular item for grilling enthusiasts. And when he came to us, he had a very difficult time getting his hands on enough inventory to fill demand. He looked at merchant cash advance options, but the financing cost ate away at his profit margins. And because it was non-revolving debt, it was only good for a single inventory cycle. So we set him up with a credit line, and he got better volume pricing from his vendor, and that more than made up for the cost of financing. Now he's been able to keep higher levels of inventory available to meet customer demand, and revenue shot up considerably. B2B companies without accounts receivables often have a working capital need related to inventory and supplies. Of course, if they do have money locked up in accounts receivable, they'd be a fantastic candidate for our asset-based line of credit. Let's go over some features of the inventory-based line of credit. First, our credit lines range in size from $50 to $250,000. If a company starts smaller and ramps up sales, we'll increase their credit limit to give them the capacity they need to keep growing. So it's very common that a borrower will start with a smaller line of credit. They'll be able to use the capital that's otherwise locked up in inventory for sales and marketing. They'll grow their sales and demand will pick up. Then will increase their credit limit to increase their growth even further. Rates will have a range pretty similar to those offered by personal credit cards, except typically with a much larger limit, and we'll go over how those rates translate into raw dollar costs in a minute. Now, each draw on the credit line can be paid off over a period of 6 months, with 26 weekly payments in total. The first 4 weeks are interest only, which allows the business to make a very small and minimal payment while they're waiting to receive inventory and stocking it. The last 22 weeks will pay down the balance of the line until the draw is paid off. However, if the business sells their inventory supply, they can always opt to pay the drawback early, which will reduce their overall financing cost. They stop interest from accumulating once they pay down the line, just like any standard credit line. And unlike a lot of alternative lending products, all the interest is not going to be front-loaded, so there's a huge incentive to pay your drawback as quickly as possible. Remember, you're only going to be charged interest for the time the draw is outstanding. And it's revolving credit. So any amounts that are paid down on the credit line can immediately be reborrowed. For instance, if you draw $100,000 on the line to buy inventory, you flip it in 2 months, you can pay down the line you have immediately and have available another $100,000 to draw on, and you're only charged 2 months of interest. This is great for your profit margins. Okay, so now let's talk about how the credit line actually works. Once we have the business approved, they can provide us with an inventory purchase order that they wish to finance. We will then send funds directly to the vendor, who then sends the inventory to the borrower. For example, our borrower might ask us to finance a $50,000 purchase order. We will then send $50,000 to their supplier, who will in turn send $50,000 worth of inventory to our borrower. Next, the borrower will make interest-only payments weekly for the first 4 weeks of the draw. As you'll see, this will be a very minimal payment, so the borrower has a very small cash outlay while they're waiting to receive and prep their inventory for sale. After the first 4 weeks are up, the final 22 payments will pay down the line to zero. But it's important again to remember that small businesses can pay down that draw on their line anytime they wish, and they will no longer be charged any more interest. By paying down their credit line as soon as they convert their inventory into cash, they maximize profit margins on the sale. Let's see how the payments are broken down on our example of the $50,000 draw. First, you'll notice that the first 4 payments are interest only for $203.77. This allows a small business to make a very minimal payment while they're purchasing and waiting to receive the inventory. Now, if the borrower elects to make the scheduled weekly payments over the next 22 weeks, they will pay $2,380.32 until the draw is paid off over 6 months. Again, of course, they can pay down the credit line at any time to stop interest and open up more availability on the line to reborrow. Now, if we add up the initial draw of $50,000, all the interest payments over 26 weeks, and the servicing fee, which is typically 1% of the draw amount, you'll see that the total payback is $53,682.09. That translates into 7 cents on the dollar in terms of their financing cost. So, finally, I want to give you a feel for how this line of credit product compares to the most common form of alternative inventory financing for a small business, which is the merchant cash advance or the daily debit loan. These are products where you're paying a percentage of your credit card swipes on a daily basis, or a fixed amount is debited out of your company bank account every single business day. A borrower looking to buy $50,000 worth of inventory through a cash advance can expect to pay somewhere around 30 cents or more on the dollar for that loan. On a $50,000 draw, that translates into $15,000 worth of financing costs. If we assume that the company sells $50,000 worth of inventory for $75,000, which is a 50% markup over cost, they will book a gross profit of $10,000 on the deal. Now compare that to the example we just showed, where they pay 7 cents on the dollar to finance $50,000 worth of inventory using our credit line. Again, if we assume that they sell the $50,000 worth of inventory for $75,000, they will book a gross profit of $21,318 on the deal. So just by utilizing financing with an inventory-based line of credit, they can more than double the profit margins. And because this is a true revolving product, they can do this over and over and over again and take bigger draws in the future. So it's a huge money saver that allows the business to scale much more rapidly and enjoy higher profits along the way. So that's all we really have for today. If you have any questions on this product or any of our other loan products, please feel free to reach out to our team via email, phone call. But you'll certainly have some questions, and we'd be more than happy to answer. So thanks, and have a great day.